And I'm Michael Miller. Our special guest is Nicole De Lara Puentes. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Michael. I love coming here.
So you're a very passionate and compassionate person. But tell us how you wound up at one of the great not-for-profit charities, Live Like Bella.
I have to tell you, Michael, Bella tapped me on the shoulder. There's really no explanation for it other than that. My background was in television. I worked in television for the first half of my career at MTV, at Sony. My background was in international sales. And after having two kids, I was traveling a lot, and I really wanted to do something to spend more time at home with my family. And I grew up in this community. I went to elementary school, to high school, and I really wanted to do something here to give back. I did it as a volunteer all the time, but it had never occurred to me to make a career out of it. So when I left the for-profit world, I went to go work with Baptist Health, which was a wonderful place. And while I was at Baptist Health, we opened the Miami Cancer Institute. And when the Miami Cancer Institute opened, Bella had recently passed away, and I can give you some backstory on that in a moment. And her family opened the Pediatric Proton Radiation Center at Miami Cancer Institute in her memory. So that is where I met the Rodriguez-Torres family. And over a cup of coffee at La Carreta in Kendall, Bella tapped me on the shoulder. And I told her father, I said, we should think about working together, but I just meant like, how can I help?
I have goosebumps all over.
And I said, how can I help? And the rest is future. Somebody told me that. Instead of the rest is history, the rest is future.
So let's do a background. When you said that Bella tapped you on your shoulder, actually, when you say live like Bella, what does that mean?
So the term or phrase live like Bella Bella was a little girl who stole the hearts of this community. If you don't know the story, it's because you weren't living here at the time, because she really captured the hearts. She was just a little girl. And she was diagnosed with cancer when she was 4 years old. She was given a few months to live. But the author of life had another plan for her. And she lived and battled for 6 years. And during that time, her family just asked for prayers from the community. And they had a huge following on social media. And there was a night in 2012 where Bella had a surgery at MD Anderson in Houston, an 18-hour surgery. And when she got out of surgery, she was in a coma, and her mom had written on Facebook, like, thank you for keeping Bella in your prayers. It's a beautiful day in Houston here. She's resting. Go out today and honor her and live like Bella. Wear red, show compassion, eat s'mores, take a bubble bath, sing a song. She wrote a long list of things. And then she put hashtag live like Bella at the bottom. Fast forward several months later, when Bella sadly went to heaven too early, the Miami Heat was playing in an NBA conference final game, and a bunch of folks went on Twitter at the time and asked LeBron James and Dwayne Wade to write hashtag live like Bella on their shoes, and they did, and it went viral. So when you ask me what it means to live like Bella, when I look at the list of ways to be like her, I think the most impactful one is to show compassion. I think Bella, I never had the privilege to meet her, but I followed her story always, never knowing that I would end up here today. And I think that it encompasses who Bella was, who lived like Bella is today, and the team that works to make everything happen.
When Raymond speaks, he speaks of the actions that they took, and the great hospitals and the great physicians and healthcare providers. It's really a dramatic story on how they took care of her and how she still had this will to live when everything pointed the other direction. And so he's very inspirational, and I've heard him a couple times, I think 3 times. Great speaker, a great representative of what he has become about. So I understand that you have a 5K coming up. Let's talk about that.
I'm super excited. It's our superhero 5K. It's on Super Bowl Sunday, but don't worry, you make it to the game because it's at 8 a.m. I say it so you remember the day.
Well, for most of the people.
Yes, it's on Sunday, February 8th at Tropical Park. It's our superhero 5K. It's one of the funnest events that we do, and it's particularly special because there's thousands of folks that attend, but many of the kids that you will see there have battled cancer, or families that are honoring a child who had cancer. So it's it's a great sporting event, but nobody who doesn't run, like, you don't need to be intimidated to walk. Like, there's folks that take their kids in red wagons. So it's a family event, and it's particularly impactful because you see some of the kids who have been directly impacted by the work that Live Like Bella is doing.
If folks haven't been to a 5K on the genre, being in something like that is really significant.
It is.
And it just impacts you. I covered years ago the breast cancer walk downtown, and I'm taking pictures. I said there were about 5,000 people where I was taking pictures. I'm going, everybody here has been impacted one way or another. And I'm taking pictures. I'm bawling like a baby, realizing that they were there to celebrate life and to celebrate the people that they've managed to keep alive and in their memories, and to provide health care for them when they needed it. And it shows a lot of support. So the kids that are there and the parents trying to, live whatever normal is nowadays. People can experience that. If they want to register, they can go on your website.
Yes, it's livelikeBella5k.org. So livelikeBella5k.org. And you can register to run or to walk. If you're out of town or if you're a sleepyhead, you can also register virtually. I have a friend today who said he was going to be at the Super Bowl, so he is registering and he's going to do it in California that morning when they wake up. So there's no excuse not to do it.
If somebody wanted to wear something show support, what should they wear?
Well, you will get a shirt that says Live Like Bella, and it has all the names of the supporters. And I think this year's shirt says Run, Walk, Cure Childhood Cancer. It's a really cool shirt, but a lot of folks accessorize with superhero gear. You see people bring capes and masks, and it's a good photo op. It's a lot of fun. So you can wear, whatever you want.
And if the people think they can't do it, they can walk.
They can totally walk.
And at any point, you can just turn back around and go back to your car.
Well, you don't have to go back to the car. You can come to the party, because at the end of the 5K, there's a huge party. There's a beer garden, which, like, drinking beer after a 5K is a thing, even at 10 a.m.
What time is that?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Michael.
Emily, are you listening? Hey, by the way, would you put the camera over on Emily? She's our producer of the day.
It's
there
5
she is.
o'clock.
Where are you? There she is. That's Emily right over there. Thank you, Emily.
Emily, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yes.
So no, it's a big party at the end. So it's a great event to be at.
Was there some event that took place at a prior 5K? There was some favorite thing that you liked?
Oh, another event of Live Like Bella's?
Yes.
Oh, we do so many impressive things throughout the year. September happens to be Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Mm-hmm. So in September, that I hope to come back and talk to you more about it, we have our annual Bella's Ball. It's a gala honoring children battling cancer. And we also have our Pediatric Cancer Research Symposium. That's my favorite event out of all that we do as well in September. That has really Live Like Bella today, in collaboration with the Department of Health and the state of Florida, created something called the Live Like Bella Pediatric Cancer Research Initiative. And that is funding 75 studies since it was created in 11 different institutions across the state, all in pediatric cancer. So that research symposium that we do in Miami brings together researchers who have received funding from the Live Like Bella grant and researchers from around the country and thought leaders in childhood cancer. So if you want to know my favorite, that's my favorite, but the 5K is more fun. So
I understand the Live Like Bella's donated a lot of money. You have a figure? I think I have it someplace.
Yeah.
Go ahead, spit it out.
So on the research side, the Live Like Bella initiative has funded over $40 million in childhood cancer research. And in terms of family support, let me go back and give you a real quick overview of what we do in case you have any viewers that don't know. They've heard of Live Like Bella, but Live Like Bella has sort of 3 lines of service, to break it down in a simple way. One is the advocacy for childhood cancer research. That's where the Live Like Bella initiative was created. Then the other, which is what we refer to as in-treatment support, that while a child is undergoing treatment, Live Like Bella steps in to help families pay their bills. A lot of times parents have to stop working and they're having a hard time paying for their groceries, for their rent, for transportation to and from the hospital. So Live Like Bella steps in to cover that. And then also, which is very sad but very privileged from where I'm sitting, is we help families in the event that they lose a child to pay for their funerals, burials, and headstones. And and those are the let's say the missions in our day to day. So when I talk about the $40 million, it's on the research side, and on the patient support side, over $10 million since Live Like Bella began.
I understand there's a local funeral home that participates with you.
Well, all the funeral homes really do, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Van Orsdale Funeral Homes. I'm sure you know the family. They've been in here for
Yes.
100 years, and they treat us like family. And at the risk, this is not a promo for Van Orsdale. This is just speaking of friends. They've never charged a dime when a child dies of cancer, which if that were the case around the country, it would be very different in terms of expenses. But Van Orsdale, anytime that we have the opportunity to connect a family, what they do to honor a child and to make sure that the families don't have the burden of the expense, and neither does the foundation. They're very special people.
So how do you balance your passion for doing this type of work and the compassion that you need to have to do this type of work?
You know, it's such a difficult thing to not bring home with you, right? I don't think I've ever, like on a Friday afternoon when you're heading home and you see people in the elevator, they're like, oh, thank God it's Friday. I never feel like that. Last weekend we went to the national championship game, and we were with a group of friends, and
What
everybody
game might
was.
that be?
I was a Fernando fan, so I will be the Miami girl that didn't cheer for the Canes. I'm sorry. Anyway, we were in a van together, and everybody went around saying like, what would you do if you weren't doing what you're doing? And I couldn't think of an answer. I was like, I can't think about doing anything else other than this. I had the privilege of coming in as CEO almost 9 years ago, and they went by quick. And I haven't really figured out how to draw a line between, you don't come home. This is not a full-time job. It's not a part-time job. It's an all-the-time job. And it really does feel like a calling. The day that I tell you that Bella tapped me on the shoulder at La Carreta, I really do feel like it was a calling.
You're part of the minority that understands a calling. You can call it whatever you want, but many times it is. And we typically hear that many times in religious aspects. What I know it is when people are open to things and they allow that to come into their lives, that you have somebody like yourself that's heading up, I don't know, a pretty great organization. So when you went there to La Carreta, you knew why you were going there.
No.
Tell us about that.
I didn't. I was working at Baptist at the time, and had developed a wonderful friendship with Shauna and Raymond, who, as I mentioned, they had worked to open the Pediatric Proton Center at Miami Cancer Institute. And I have a friend, Raymond and I have a mutual friend who at the time was serving in the state legislature and had been there for many years. And we had a candid conversation one day with no real agenda. And she said, I wonder what the state of Florida has done in childhood cancer. She's like, I got to go back and take a look. She had been in the legislature almost 15 years, I think, at this time. And she went back and took a look, and she said, the state of Florida has done nothing for children with cancer. And together we worked to create this Live Like Bella Pediatric Cancer Research Initiative that takes $3 million of recurring funds. It doesn't come to Live Like Bella. It's administered by the Department of Health. But it was about to take, the foundation at the time was 4 years old. Raymond and Shauna continue to be volunteers for this day. They don't work for Live Like Bella. But they were running this in the kitchen counter at home. And when this legislation was passed, I'm the one I went to La Carreta to tell him about the legislation because he didn't know. And he is a man of many words, as you and I spoke about. And I had printed out all of the language of the legislation. Session was going on, and I passed it across the table. And he read it, and he didn't say anything. And Raymond always has something to say. And he looked at me, and he goes, do you realize that this has never been done before? And has his daughter's name. I can't imagine what it was like for him to see it. And I said, Raymond, this changes the game for Live Like Bella, right? This is the trajectory is about to change. What are you going to do? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, we're running this as volunteers. We're at home. I have a job. Shauna has a job. And I said, like it just exited my mouth. I said, we should think about working together. But I kind of meant like, I don't know, what can I do to help? And he said, think about it. I've thought about it, but you're saying it out loud. Nobody thinks anybody wants to leave, a good, stable job in a big organization to work in the kitchen and garage. But I think that's where the tapping on the shoulder happened. I don't know. I wish I could tell you, Michael, but I didn't go to La Carreta to have that conversation. I went to go talk about the legislation, and I knew that it was going to change the game for him, and I was ready to help. but I didn't know I was going to do this.
You could have said in the beginning not have had that meeting, but something drove you inside to want to wind up there.
You know, there's a great quote that says some version of justice has not been served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are. And I had not been directly affected or lost a child to cancer, but we all did. When Bella passed away, we all lost a child to cancer. Every day, 43 families hear the words, your child has cancer. And it might not be yours, but those are children that should have a chance to receive treatment and to have access to the resources they need. And it's very difficult.
So with that concept that it takes a village, tell me about funding for pediatric cancer.
So pediatric cancer at the national level receives less than 4% of the NCI funding, which is crazy. And there are many reasons for that. One of them being obviously that the patient population for children is much smaller. But some of the treatments that are used on children today have been, were developed right after World War II. There has not been any advancements. A lot of times when research, pharmaceutical companies, and I don't mean to put the weight in one area, but what happens is if this podcast was to discuss starting a new company, a new pharmaceutical company that wants to make money, we're not going to be talking about pediatric cancer. The population isn't there. But until we start talking about developing drugs and looking at years of life, not just number of patients, but years of life that are lost when children don't receive those treatments. I have two kids, and when they were little, I never thought about giving them an adult Tylenol. If they had a cold, I gave them children's Tylenol. In childhood cancer, those treatments are often not available. They're taking, adult drugs, watering them down. They have incredible amounts of toxicity for these kids.
When was the last time there was new medicines and protocol for childhood cancer?
I mean, every day, those studies that are being funded right now, they're 75, and this is in Florida alone. So those I'm more well-versed on. But, I mean, there's treatments being developed right now, being funded by that Live Like Bella initiative down the street. At Florida International University, for example, there's a study being run by Dr. Diana Azam in collaboration with Nicholas Children's Hospital that there are children that were on the verge of being placed in hospice that are back at school and playing soccer, using some technologies that had never been explored before. But they had access to funds to be able to do the research. And that piece of the pie, the advocacy, is huge. That's one of the biggest priorities from where we're sitting right now.
Let's talk about the annual ball. Where's that held?
Oh, the annual ball this year. It's the last weekend of September. It's in Doral at the Trump National. We do the research symposium the day before. I think this year it's going to be 2 days of research because it's become such a big event for us. And then the ball is the following day. There's a gala every weekend. There's a 5K every weekend. I get it. But for us, I think it's important sometimes, and you go to a lot of events, when you walk out, you're like, what was this about? Bella's Ball is a place where you don't wonder why you stepped in the room. There's always families whose children have battled cancer, families who have lost a child to cancer, and the two young men and women who MC the ball, they're both cancer survivors. Braulio and Maddie, those are like the kids I never had. Braulio, for example, he battled cancer when he was 16 and he just graduated from college. Maddie, when she was a baby, you feel it. So what is Bella's Ball like? It's a great time. It's supposed to end at 12, and every year, like at 11:30, my team comes to me and is like, can we extend for another half hour because nobody's leaving? Because some of these galas, people come in at 10 o'clock, everybody's home. So it's a lot of fun. It's an important way for us to bring the community together and to honor children, and they're all there.
So let's say a family gets the diagnosis, hey, your child has cancer. Tell us what the parents and family goes through.
Well, that's a great question that'll segue into something we're working on now. So depending on where a child is and what the type of diagnosis is, there is no central place that you can go and say, here's all I need to know about childhood cancer. You can Google your heart out to find information, and you may be at a hospital with a great social worker or a child life specialist, but some families are lost. We actually are starting now. We just received a grant from the state of Florida to create something called the Comprehensive Childhood Cancer Network, the CCCN, to build precisely that, a hub and a place where when a family has a child that's diagnosed with cancer, they have one place that gives access to financial resources, access to connecting for clinical trials, a whole slew of services and support that they may need that is not easily available to families. So right now, when you hear those words, your child has cancer, there's a lot of families who are lost. I get personal calls all the time that'll say, I have a friend, the teacher, that the son was diagnosed. And when you tell them to call me, whatever they need, the families often don't even know what they need. You don't know right away. You're drinking water out of a fire hose. You're hearing about medical terms that you have no idea what they mean. And you don't even know where to go. So I think the answer to the question is, what's the experience like? I think it depends on where you are. We're very blessed that we live in a community that there's multiple cancer centers, but you have families that live hours and hours away, that taking a child to treatment is going to mean, okay, I have to stop working. I better have enough money to put gas in the car. I need time to stay at a hotel. Your insurance company doesn't cover the hotel. So I think the experience is different for everybody, but our goal at Live Like Bella is to ensure that we provide the ultimate level of support financially, emotionally, spiritually, etc.
And there are all types of cancer where the survivors and the families are lost.
Yes.
And they just don't know what to do.
Yes.
A friend of ours, he had his prostate taken out due to cancer. A month later, he's back at the doctor's office. Okay, everything's good. Go live your life. That was it. And the guy stopped at the front counter. Isn't there some place I could go? So here's this guy, completely in shock, young guy, all right? And like, okay, what do I do now?
Right.
It's not quite as simple. Oh, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Because we understand that besides physically, what happens in your brain and your personality, how that can impact us. So how does being around these folks impact you on the different levels?
I mean, on a human level, this is a huge privilege. I have been to too many funerals of a child that died of cancer, but I've been to more graduations. I've been to birthday parties and seen, I remember there's a woman that I worked with at Baptist who she is a child life specialist. And I remember telling her, she had been doing this for a long time. And I said, how do you do this and not get emotional? And she's like, the day you stop feeling something, you probably shouldn't be doing this anymore. So it's hard on a personal level, on a professional level, but you get attached. There's something, and I feel like as I've built my team, there's questions that you're probably not allowed to ask in interviews, right? You have to ask like very formal questions. But even as building a team, I want to hire good people who have compassion, who show compassion when you asked me earlier, and who feel things and who get connected to families, because when this process and an organization becomes transactional, it loses the core of the way that it started. So,
and so here the families probably in the worst time of their lives ever, in shock, thinking they're going to lose their child. Mm-hmm. What percent of the children that get cancer survive?
Depends on the type of cancer. I think there's been a lot of advancements with leukemia and lymphoma, but there's over a dozen other types of cancers, bone cancers, blood cancers, brain tumors throughout, and the survivability varies on depending on the type of cancer. With leukemias and lymphomas, I think there's been more advancements, for certain brain tumors like DIPG, which is a very aggressive cancer. The survivability is 0%. There are some cases where there is no treatment available. So I don't know if there's a general answer for that. I think it varies by type.
So when you look at the family and you're trying to give them hope and to take care of themselves, because there's that old saying on the plane, the stewardess says, when the mask comes out, put it on yourself so you can take care of other people.
Yeah.
What do you do when that's coming and that plane comes down and you go, I better put it on myself, but we have these patients in the worst time in their lives and their family, and they need help. How do you work that so you can manage yourself, provide the care and the concern for them?
The only answer I can give to you is prayer. I think I talk to parents and aunts and uncles in the very beginning, and I always say, I'm like, this is going to be a really intense moment to question your faith. You're either going to find it or you're going to lose it. And you hear people say, like, I could never do this, and I can tell you the only difference that I've seen over all of the years that I've been working with these families is when there's faith and when there's not. And the pain is the same, the challenges are the same. There's no different there. But when a family loses faith, you lose everything. So, and I think I say that I speak for that personally as well. And it's easy to lose it. You know, you can look at a child who's in a hospital bed, you know, dying of a brain tumor, and you're like, where's God here? No, you know, and I think keeping, you know, a prayerful spirit. I mean, Live Like Bella's not a religious organization, but, you know, we open up every board meeting with a prayer. There's definitely a level of spirituality there. So on a personal note, that's how I do it. That and I go to yoga,
Okay,
which makes me very happy.
Tell us about the people and the team at Nicholas.
Nicholas Children's Hospital is an incredible provider of care for children battling cancer in our community. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the clinical studies funded by Live Like Bella is being worked on with Dr. Maggie Fader at Nicholas that is doing some life-changing, life-saving work. They're an incredible partner. They're one of the presenting sponsors of our 5K, incidentally, and our ball. And we have relationships with every children's hospital in the country. Nicholas is a special place because Bella was treated there. Her grandfather was the chief medical officer at Nicholas for 20 years when it was called Variety Children's Hospital. So it's an incredible place, you know, to take a child who is battling cancer or anything else for that matter. You know, so is Miami Cancer Institute, the University of Miami, Joe DiMaggio. We're very blessed in South Florida to have options, but Nicholas is a special place.
And let's talk about your team.
Oh man, my team is awesome. It's almost like the United Nations right now. We're 9 women on the team and one.
So is there a guy in there?
One guy, the poor guy. He's the newest member of our team. He's a PhD, graduated out of Florida State, and actually he was working on a study while he was doing his PhD at FSU. And when we received that research grant to create the Comprehensive Childhood Cancer Network, I brought Chris down, and Chris speaks 0 English. He came into like, I'm Cuban, one of the girls on my team is Colombian, another one's Nicaraguan, Ecuadorian.
Welcome to Miami.
Welcome to Miami. And he has arrived. But Chris runs our research program. We have 2 folks on our team, Adriana and Maite, who do a lot of the fundraising and development, which is a huge challenge. Ethel, who runs our communications team, Monica, who runs operations, Sandra and Julie, who have the toughest job. We have 2 folks that what they do all day is just take care of the families, and they're the ones to speak to the moms, the funeral homes, the social workers, etc. We have Rose. I mean, it's all just a bunch of awesome young people who really fell in love with this work.
And how did you find that type of work? You must have inclination to do that. What drove you to even consider that at that moment?
To come and do what I'm doing now?
Yes.
Yeah, like I told you earlier, I think it's a calling, tap on the shoulder. And the hardest part has been not just, you know, the emotional part of it and the financial part of it for raising money, but it's building a team that has the same set of values and that's going to pick up their phone while they're on vacation. Not because they have to, but because they want to. And building a team, as you know, when you have any business or when you work anywhere, you're only as good as your team. And the more we continue to grow, the more difficult it is to make sure that everybody shares those same set of values. So our team is awesome. They work 24 hours a day, all of them, and we have a lot of fun too.
So as you were growing up, you must have had a great team. Why don't you tell us about some of those people that helped you along your journey? While you do that, which camera should you look in? This one here? Okay, look straight in and thank those people, whether they're here or not. And if you want to mention their names, that's good too. Don't look at me, look at them.
Sorry, no, but what was the question?
All right. Would you like to thank some of those people that helped you along your journey?
Oh my goodness,
And it's not everybody. We understand that. Sorry if she doesn't say it.
I mean, you got to start with your mom and dad, right? You got to start with your mom and dad. I grew up with parents that, you know, they were never like, you need to do it this way. They let us make decisions and follow our hearts. So my parents, my husband, and my kids who see me carry a lot of this stuff at home into our living room, who all of them volunteer with Live Like Bella, and I wouldn't be able to do any of this work. And to Raymond and Shauna, who have trusted me, I'll get emotional here, who have trusted me to represent their daughter and to do this work in her honor. You know, to my team, I think that's the intimate circle of who's involved day to day, the volunteers, both of my daughter's schools. I mean, this is a long list, but I think not just on a personal level, but professionally. There's been people along the way in my career that have helped open my heart to do something I never thought I would be doing. I studied communications. I didn't study nonprofit management or business or finance. I opened up my heart to do different things along the way that I never knew would serve me the way that they do today. So when young people ask me all the time, who do you have to thank? A lot of folks along the way during my career that gave me a chance, even when my experience didn't match the job description. So the list is long.
Nicole, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for
Again,
having
you have
me.
5K race coming up. They can go to Live Like Bella /
Live Like
5K.
Bella, yeah,
And they
livelikeBella5k.org.
Okay. And if you can't make it, you can maybe do something on Zoom. Or if they just want to make a donation, they can
Yes.
do that there.
Absolutely.
All right. And let's look at which camera. Let's look over there.
Where-
Right over. Folks, thanks for joining us. And my brother Grant and I subscribe to the Disney rule, which is when you hug